वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Chapter 14 Verse 1 Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Param Bhuya Pavakshammi Gnananam Yagnatva Munaya Sarve Parasiti Mito Gata.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection."
Text 2 Idam gnana upashritya mama sadhya mamagata sargepi nopajayante pralayena vyavastitaccha.
By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution.
Text 3 Mama yoni mahad brahma tasmin garbhadadharmayam sambhavam sarvabhutana tato bhavati bharata.
The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings, O son of Bharata.
Text 4 Sarvayoni Sukonteya Murtaya Sambhavatiya Tasha Brahma Mahadyoni Niraha Tasa Brahma Mahadyoni Aham Bija Padam Pita.
It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father.
Text 5 Rajas Sattva Rajastamam iti Guna Prakriti Sambhava Nibandanti Mahabhao Dehe Dehi Namavyaya Vayam.
Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjun, he becomes conditioned by these three modes.
Text 6 Tatra Sattva Nimalatva Prakashyaka Manamayam Sukha Sangena Bandhati Jnana Sangena Chanadha.
O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge.
Text 9 Text 7 Text 7 Rajo Ragatmakam Viti Tushna Samna Samudravam Tanni Bandhanti Konteya Karma Sangena Dehinam.
The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions.
Tamastvam Ajnananchaviti Mohanam Sarvadehinam Pramadalyasya Nindrapi Asti Nindrapisti Nibandhanti Bharata.
O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul.
Text 9 Sattvam Sukhe Sanjayati Raja Karmani Bharata Nana Avrutya tu Tama Pramade Sanjayatuta.
O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness.
Text 10. Rajastamashya Samasya bhuya sattva bhavati bharata. Rajasattva tamascheva tamasattva rajastata.
Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy.
Text 11. सर्वद्वारेषु देहस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्या विवृद्ध सत्त्वमित्युत.
The manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge.
Text 12. लोभ प्रवृत्तिरारम्भ कर्मणा मसमस्वहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विबुधे भरतः सर्व.
O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop.
Text 13. अप अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विबुधे कुरु नन्दन.
When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested.
Text 14. यदा सत्त्वे प्रवृत्ते तु प्रलय याति देहभूत् तदोत अविद्या लोकानलमलान् sorry तदोतम अविद्या लोका अलान प्रतिपद्यते.
When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages.
Text 15. रजसि प्रलयं गत्वा कर्मसङ्गीषु जायते तथा प्रलीनस्तम् असि मूढयोनिषु जायते.
When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom.
कर्म Text 16. कर्मणा सकृत स्नाहु सात्विकं निर्मलं फलं रजसस्तु फलं दुःख अज्ञानं तमसः फलम्.
The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness.
Text 17. सत्त्वा सञ्जायते ज्ञानं रजसो लोभ एव च प्रमादमोहो तमसो प्रभवतो ज्ञानमेव च.
From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and delusion.
Text 18. Udva gachanti sasvastha madhye tistanti rajasa jagnanya gunavruttishta adho gachanti tamasa.
Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Text 19. नान्यं गुणेभ्यः कर्तारं यदा द्रष्टानुपश्यन्ति गुणेभ्यश्च परं वेति मदावं सोऽधिगच्छति.
When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature.
Text 20. गुणानेतानतीत्यत्री देहि देह समुद्रवान् जन्म मृत्यु जरा दुःखे विमुक्तो मृतम् असृते.
When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life.
Text 21. Arjun Uvacha Keling Keling Kelindrestinu Gunanetan नेतान्त तीतो भवति प्रभु किमाचार कथं चेत स्त्रीण गुणाति वर्तते.
Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature?
Text 22 to 25. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prakasam cha pravrutim cha mohamiva cha pandava na dreshti sampravruttani na निवृत्तानि न काञ्चति उदासीन वदासीनो गुणेयो न विचाल्यते गुणा वर्तन्त इत्येत्वं यो योऽवस्थितिस्थनिदते समदुःखसुखं स्वस्थ समलोष्टास्मकाश्चन तुल्यप्रिया प्रियो धीर तुल्यनिन्दा स्तमस्तुतिस्ति मान अपमानयो तुल्य तुल्यो मित्रापरिपक्षयो सर्वारंभ परित्यागी गुणातीत स उच्यते.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and illusion when they are present or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature.
Text 26. माचयो माचयो व्यभिचारेण भक्तियोगेन सेवते सगुणान् समितेतान् ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Text 27. ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतास्य व्ययस्य च स्वास्वस्तस्य च धर्मस्य सुख स्नेकान्तिकस्य च.
And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
ओम तत्सत श्रीमद् भगवत गीता उपनिषद ब्रह्म विद्याय योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे ज्ञान तत्व विज्ञान योग नाम चतुर्दश अध्याय. हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Pinky Mataji and Meena Mataji for reciting the verses. Thank you so much. Okay. Let me see if I can bring up my screen. Everybody can see?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will continue chapter 14, and today we are going to do verse 19. So verse 19 is Nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drashtanupashyati gunebhyascha param veti madbhavam sodigacchati. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Does anybody want to volunteer to read the purport, please? Maybe Shipra Mataji, would you like to read the purport?
Yes, yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay. One can transcend all the activities of the modes of material nature simply by understanding them properly, by learning from the proper souls. The real spiritual master is Krishna, and he is imparting this spiritual knowledge to Arjuna. Similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn this science of activities in terms of the modes of nature. Otherwise, one's life will be misdirected. By the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, a living entity can now of his spiritual position, his material body, his senses, how is the entrapped and how he is under the spell of the material modes of nature. He is helpless, being in the grip of these modes. But when he can see his real position, then he can attain to the transcendental platform, having the scope for spiritual life. Actually, the living entity is not the performer of different activities. He is forced to act because he is situated in a particular type of body conducted by some particular mode of material nature. Unless one has to help of a spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position, and by such a understanding, he can become fixed in full Krishna consciousness. A man in Krishna consciousness is not controlled by the spell of the material modes of nature. It has already been stated in the seventh chapter that one who has surrendered to Krishna is relieved from the activities of material nature. For one who is able to see the things as they are, the influence of material nature gradually eases. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So before we start, we'll just say the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine. निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे Thank you everybody for joining. So we are continuing with the 14th chapter, Modes of Material Nature. And let us discuss this important verse today. So from the 19th verse, Krishna is going to be talking to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to us, how we can transcend these modes of material nature. Now, the point is that one can only become free of something or can transcend something if one has a clear understanding of things. Sorry. I just need to mute everybody, I think. Yeah, okay. So yeah, like I was saying, one can, in the first line itself, Prabhupada is talking about how one can understand, one can transcend by understanding this modes of material nature and by understanding the material nature. So Krishna here is equating the transcending the modes of material nature with liberation from the material world, right? So like we just said, that one can only transcend if one understands things. The example that we can use is that when a patient goes to a doctor, the doctor needs to understand what the disease is, look at various kinds of symptoms, and then come to a diagnosis. Because unless he understands what it is, he cannot put in place a sustainable cure. Because we don't want to just cure the symptoms, we want to cure the actual disease, right? So same way, Krishna over here is actually very, very carefully explaining to us what is this material nature, what are the three modes of material nature. Because unless we understand this carefully, we will not know how we will be able to transcend it. So the idea is that we first understand what these three modes are. Because the spirit soul is, as soon as it comes into this material world, it is bewildered by this material nature, right? We've heard of this, where the spirit soul is bewildered by the material nature and thinks himself to be the doer of activities, where actually all the activities are being carried out by the three modes of material nature. So that is the reason why Krishna is taking so much time in the Bhagavad Gita to explain to us about this material nature, about the three modes of material nature. Now the question can come in our minds that, we are the spirit soul and we are part and parcel of Krishna, Mamaivamso Jiva Loka. So we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are spirit soul. The spirit soul is eternal, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Nothing can happen to the spirit soul. It cannot be cut, it cannot be killed. So in that case, how come we are being bound by these ropes of the modes of material nature? How come we are being bound by the gunas? So that's a question that will come up, because the spirit soul is eternal. It's part of Krishna. It is full of bliss. It's full of knowledge. But the problem is that we are forced to suffer and enjoy and ultimately die, and then we are reborn again because of our ahankara, because we are bewildered by the false ego. We have taken on this identity of I am so and so, I am of this nationality, I am Indian, I am a female, I am of this race, or I am of this religion. So all of this identity, that is the illusion, and that is the basis of the ignorance. So we have taken all this false identification. Now what happens as soon as we take on this false identity is that there is envy. How does that happen? As soon as we take on identity, and I start talking about myself as aham mameti, I, me, and myself. So then I start to think of things around me that they belong to me. My house, my family, my country, my city, my car, my so and my this and my that. And the moment we start thinking of ourselves as the proprietor of things around us, and when we are not able to control those things, at that time there is this envy that comes in us, and we forget our true nature. We forget that this identity that I have right now is temporary. It is not my real identity. What is my real identity? Jivaira Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas. So my real identity is that I am the eternal soul, eternal servant of Krishna, right? And that is why as soon as we come under the illusion of ahankara and then we come into ignorance, then we are bound up by these three modes of material nature. So then the point is, we want to come out of these modes. How are we going to do that? The only way we can come out of anything, the only way we can overcome anything is by understanding. So what we are doing, we need to observe the modes that are working upon us. Now, let me ask all of you a question, because we have been doing this chapter for a while now, the three modes of material nature, and we've discussed so much about the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. Have any of you noticed now in your day-to-day activities and paused for a moment and thought, right now I feel I am under the influence of the mode of passion, or I am under the mode of ignorance? Has anybody felt like that? And would anybody like to share this with us? Please don't feel shy.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Puja Mataji.
Yeah. In the mornings, when it's time to get up,
Yeah.
you feel that no, I don't want to get up. But
Yeah.
then I think that this is Krishna wants me to get up. I need to get up, do my japa, and then it sort of prompts me to get up. So this is when I'm in a mode of ignorance. Is it ignorance in the morning?
No, in the morning, if
It
you,
is Shuddha Tattva, it is goodness, but still when I don't want to get up.
yeah. So what you're doing, Puja Mataji, is actually seeing both the mode of ignorance and mode of goodness at work together. Like we have discussed so
Oh,
many times, that there will never be a time when there is only one mode, because there is no pure mode acting. You see, always there is an influence of two or three, and one is dominating. So
okay.
in your case, when you are able to then get up,
Yes.
what is happening is the mode of goodness has now dominated over the mode of ignorance.
Yeah.
You see? So my point over here is that because now you have understood, we have all understood that these are the modes that are working upon us, we are able to identify that it is not actually me. It is the modes that are working. You see, that's what is happening over here, and which is what Prabhupada is talking about in his purport, where he says that one can transcend all the activities of the modes of nature by understanding them properly. You see, also in the translation, he says, when one properly sees that in all activities, no other performer is at work than these modes of nature. So you see, when we are observing, now that we are learning this, so what we are trying to do is we become the audience who is sitting down and observing a play being enacted. It's almost like, an out of body, that I am not this body, I'm sitting outside this body, and I'm observing how my body is acting under the influence of the modes of nature. You see, so when we start observing the modes working upon us, so over here it says very clearly, Prabhupada in his purport is saying that when a living entity stays in this material world, embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the three modes of material nature. It could be goodness, passion, ignorance, Sometimes, 2 or 3 of them are working together. One is dominating the other. Sometimes it is goodness, sometimes it is passion. Like Puja Mataji explained that in the morning, it's ignorance, goodness, and then goodness takes over. So like that. So once we understand all of these things, then we understand that we are separate from these modes of nature. You see, and Krishna in the 3rd chapter explains prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. So all the activities are taking place because of the influence of the modes of material nature, but the spirit soul thinking of himself as the doer, because he is under the influence of the false ego, ahankar. He thinks I am doing this, but I am not doing it. I am under the influence of the modes of nature. Now when we start to, that's one point that we have understood, that okay, it's the modes that is acting upon us. The next point, the next statement is that we need to then understand Krishna's position. See, in the translation, Prabhupada says, when one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes. So, although Krishna is the creator of this material world, although Krishna, all the material energy, everything emanates from Krishna, and Krishna says that everything emanates from me, nothing can influence Krishna. Krishna is above all these things. He is transcendental. These modes, this material energy does not influence Krishna. Krishna says that, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. He says that this material nature is working under my instructions. Krishna does not come under the control of any of these things. He is beyond the modes of nature, and he's beyond the material energy, and he is fully transcendental, right? So now the point is, okay, we have understood the modes are working upon us. We have understood what is Krishna's position. Now from this verse, Krishna is talking about, and Prabhupada is explaining, that one can transcend. How do we transcend these, right? So that's what we are going to discuss. So all religious practices and spiritual paths teach us to cultivate the mode of goodness. The reason being that only when we come to the mode of goodness, we can then think of moving beyond that. One important aspect to bear in mind is that it is very rare that one will ever be in pure goodness, like Suddha Sattva state, because that state is not very easy to achieve. It is very, very difficult. But our acharyas and Prabhupada is teaching us that we must at least try and cultivate the mode of goodness, and try and, as far as possible, be in the mode of goodness majority of the time, right? So then the question is, how do we do that? Now over here in the Bhagavatam, there is a very beautiful verse. It's one of my actually favorite verses. Shrinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridayantastohi abhadrani vidunoti shruhat satam. The translation is, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma or super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. The point being made over here is that Krishna is saying that he, as the Paramatma, is in everyone's heart, and he will clean our heart. How will he clean our heart? When we chant Krishna's names, when we listen to Krishna Katha, when we listen to Krishna's pastimes, his glories, his activities of devotees of Krishna. So then slowly our heart is getting cleansed. When the heart is getting cleansed, then Krishna from within, because of his mercy and his grace, what he will do is that he will remove the attachment for material enjoyment, and he will then remove the modes, the influence of modes of passion and ignorance. He will clean our heart, and eventually we will then come to a state of goodness. Now, like we discussed again, there is always influence of passion and ignorance, but in Krishna consciousness, passion and ignorance can also be used in Krishna's service. And I have discussed this previously in my one of my classes, where um, you do need to be in the mode of ignorance when you are sleeping at night, because they say sleeping is in the mode of ignorance. But for a Krishna conscious person, it is not in the mode of ignorance, because he is sleeping so that his body can get enough rest. So he is then again ready for service to Krishna. So that is why when you put Krishna in the center, even these activities, which may from the mundane point of view look like as if they are in the mode of passion and ignorance, they are not anymore. Like I had given the example of when we go out for book distribution, or when we are trying to preach sometimes, one has to be passionate. If one is not passionate, then you will not be able to get your message across sometimes. So that passion is in Krishna conscious activity. So that cannot be compared to the mundane mode of passion or ignorance. But the idea is that we need to come to a state of mode of goodness, right? At all times. Obviously, we need the other modes also, but majority of the time to be in the mode of goodness. Now, what happens when the heart is cleaned? We've discussed that. We become free from passion and ignorance. And then what happens? Once the heart is free from passion and ignorance, we will develop transcendental love for the Supreme. So becoming free from the, what happens is when we are free from passion, ignorance, we are free from attachments, fear, anger, and we are fully absorbed in Krishna, and we take shelter of Krishna, we take refuge in Krishna. And then we are then purified by the knowledge that Krishna is giving us from within and without. Within from our heart as being our Chaitya Guru, as being the Paramatma, and from outside by all the transcendental literature that we have been given by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So then the question is that, can we all come to the mode of goodness? Yes, we all can come to the mode of goodness. And how? That is, if we sincerely try to take shelter of Krishna. By itself, by our own independent desire and our own independent endeavor, it is not possible. Because it is said that this material world is like a limitless ocean. And you cannot cross an ocean. Even the best swimmer will not be able to cross the ocean. And even the best boats, there could be some or the other problem. Like whatever you may do, you may have the best possible ship that you have made. Like, like a mundane example is like the Titanic. The Titanic, when it was made, it was thought that this ship is unsinkable. So it is not possible. But the moment we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, then this ocean, this material ocean, becomes the amount of water is as much water as can be accommodated in the hoof print of a calf. I don't know how many of y'all have had the good fortune to see a newborn calf, or even like a few days old calf. And if you've seen the footprint of a calf, it is so tiny. So this whole material ocean can actually become that tiny. That water will become so little that it's only the hoof print of a calf, and one can easily cross over this. So we have to take shelter of Krishna. Now the question is then, how do we take shelter of Krishna? And for that, I thought this amazing story about Gajendra is the best way for all of us to meditate on and understand how we can take shelter of Krishna. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you know this story and have heard this story before, but we will still repeat it. This is for all our purifications because it is nice to listen to these stories of exalted devotees from the Bhagavatam, from the pages of Bhagavatam. So, see, all of us know how strong elephants are, even today in Kali Yuga. Now we are talking of Gajendra, who was from the heavenly worlds. He was an extremely, extremely strong elephant, the king of elephants, and he was enjoying himself with his wife and friends and children and relatives, and frolicking in this beautiful, absolutely beautiful lake. The water was so clean, serene, and there were beautiful lotuses. It smelled like nectar. And he was enjoying himself. He was actually taking water in his trunk and spraying his children with the water and having fun. Now, suddenly, there is a crocodile in the water, which is just lying underneath the surface of the water, and the crocodile catches hold of Gajendra's legs. Now here, what is important to understand is that this crocodile represents suffering. Now, if you think about it, this crocodile is present in each and every one of our lives. We may be at the topmost position in our careers. We may have all the wealth in the world, have, amazing friends and family and fame and fortune and everything that one could ask for. But the crocodile is just lurking underneath the surface of this amazing material life that we have created for ourselves. At any moment, this crocodile is going to come and catch hold of our legs. We all are in the same position as Gajendra. Now, what did Gajendra do then? Initially, he has fought long and hard. He has tried his best to free himself from the jaws of the crocodile. Eventually, after he realized that I cannot do anything on my own, I can see that all my friends and family and relatives are standing on the bank here and crying, but they want to help me, but they cannot do anything, and they are so distressed, but they can't help me. I can't help myself. Nobody can help me right now. And at that moment, he completely surrenders. He completely takes shelter of Krishna. Obviously, there is a backstory that in his previous life, Gajendra was a devotee. And so he remembers the prayers that he had learned in his previous life. And so he takes shelter of Krishna and starts reciting those prayers. The important point over here that I'm trying to make is that all of us, today or tomorrow or day after, that crocodile of intense suffering is going to get hold of our legs. And at that time, we also, like Gajendra, will have to surrender completely and take shelter of Krishna. But why wait for that? Why wait for that moment? Why wait for that time to come? We must start practicing from now. From this moment onwards, we must start practicing of how we can take shelter of Krishna. Sometimes as, let me go to the next slide. Sometimes as devotees, we think, we are practicing devotees and we are trying to surrender to Krishna. But why is it that we are still having so many problems and why does this happen? Now, the point here is that we are conditioned. If we were not conditioned, we wouldn't be in this material world. So yes, we have taken the step towards trying to cure ourselves, but we are still in the disease stage. When a person goes to the hospital, he goes with the hope and the faith that he will become better and come back. But that does not mean that he takes a walk in the hospital, goes to the reception, and comes back out saying that I visited the hospital, so I'm sure I will become okay. No, he has to be admitted to the hospital so that he can get the treatment. So all of us, we are also admitted in this hospital of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, who are our physicians and are giving us this process. They are administering the medicines that will cure us. Now, what is the medicine? The medicine is sadhana bhakti. What does sadhana mean? Sadhana means practice. We have not developed pure love of Krishna, where we are at that stage where 24/7 we are thinking of Krishna. Some of you, I'm sure, must be. I'm talking about myself. I am not. So that is why I have to practice. I have to follow the processes that has been given to me. What are the processes? That I have to follow some principles. I have to read, listen, and I think in yesterday's class and previously also we have discussed about the 9 stages of devotional service. So I have to put all of those stages into practice in my life. The idea of sadhana bhakti is that we reorient the way we think, the way we perform our activities in such a way that we bring Krishna in the center of our lives. Once we bring Krishna in the center of our lives, then every activity is dovetailed towards pleasing Krishna. And that is the idea of sadhana bhakti. As a soul, that is inherently our nature, that comes naturally to us. But because now we are embodied in this material body and we are being worked upon by the modes of material nature, we have to practice this, although it is natural to us. Like it is said that a child, when he is born, eventually it is natural that he will walk. But before he comes to the stage of walking without the support of his parents, he has to practice it. He has to learn it. He holds on to something, he holds on and he stands, and then he takes the first step and he gets the confidence that I have lifted my leg to take the first step, but I will not fall. Then he holds on to his parents' hands and he walks. So that's a practice, although it is natural. Although it is natural for most people, for human beings to be able to speak, but all of that also requires practice. And that is the same way, because our soul now is we have taken on so many years and millions of years and lifetimes of samskaras. We have taken on so many different kind of consciousness. So we have forgotten what our natural inherent nature is. And that is why we have to practice sadhana bhakti. And then the most important thing here to understand, which Prabhupada is talking about in the purport, and I will come to that Krishna has manifested in the form of his devotees and the holy name, right? Now, Prabhupada talks about here, he says that similarly, it is from those who are fully in Krishna consciousness that one has to learn the science of activities in terms of modes of nature. So one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, because it said that Krishna has manifested in this Kali Yuga in the form of his devotees, like Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West, it was only out of his love and compassion that he came. There was no other individual benefit that he wanted. Imagine at the age of 69, 70, living a comfortable life in Vrindavan, in the most holy city of Vrindavan, and coming to the West with so many difficulties, and we have discussed this so many times, so we'll not go into that, but coming to the West for what? Just so that he could fulfill the mission of his spiritual master, and so that he could, insignificant fools like myself could benefit from Prabhupada's love, from what he has given us. And of course, then the second thing is that in this Kali Yuga, Krishna has specially manifested in his holy name. And the best thing about the Kali Yuga is it has got all kinds of other so many bad things. But the best thing about the Kali Yuga is that Krishna has come in his holy name. He is non-different to his name. And by chanting the holy name, it is Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. There is no other benefit, there is no other glory, there is nothing else that can lift us out of this material miseries than chanting the holy name. One needs to understand that this place, this material world, is a place of dukkha, and we've heard that so many times, dukkhalaya shashvatam. But one must never become hopeless. In Krishna consciousness, we always have hope, because Krishna is giving us that hope. Krishna is saying that ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripashyate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga shemam vahamyaham. If one sincerely takes shelter of me and performs devotional service, I give them what they lack and I carry what they have. So yes, this material world, this material ocean is very, very difficult to cross, but Krishna is promising us sarva dharman paritajya mam ekam sharanam raja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha. So surrender to me, take shelter of my lotus feet and of my devotees, take shelter of my holy name, and you will come to me. That's what Krishna is saying. So the idea is that we are trying to cultivate the mode of goodness. But we've discussed so many times that none of these modes are acting independently. So there are chances that from the mode of goodness, we'll come back to the mode of passion. How do we try to remain in the mode of goodness as much as possible? Majority of the times. The only way we can do that is when we combine the mode of goodness with devotional service. See, mode of goodness could mean so many things. Doing pious activities is in the mode of goodness. Helping people is in the mode of goodness. Cultivating humility is in the mode of goodness. But all of these by itself, they are material qualities. They are not transcendental. We want to make these same qualities transcendental. How do we do that? By combining it with devotional service, right? So this verse, this particular purport is actually just talking about how we can then understand the modes of material nature, understand that Krishna is beyond all of that, and then he attains by spiritual nature, so we can also attain the spiritual nature. Sometimes as Krishna conscious practitioners, as devotees, we might think that I've been practicing for so many years and still I have problems, or still I have these issues. None of our literatures like the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam promises us happiness in this world. Why? Because this material world cannot give us happiness. It is a source of distress. It is a source of distress so that we become completely detached from this material world and we strive to transcend and go beyond this material world, right? So that is that. And just one last point that I want to make, because Prabhupada has spoken so much in the purport about the spiritual master. So it is said that in the purport he says, unless one has the help of spiritual authority, he cannot understand in what position he is actually situated. With the association of a bona fide spiritual master, he can see his real position. And who is a bona fide spiritual master? And Prabhupada says here, a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. What are the problems of life? The problems of life are not that right now I'm facing, I've lost my job, I'm facing economical crisis, I'm facing, other problems, my husband is ill treating me. Those are not the problems of life. The main problems and the problems of life which never go away is birth, old age, disease, and death. And only if we take shelter of a spiritual master, then we will learn how we can transcend these problems of life even while we are in this material world. Because the moment we understand that all of these things that is happening to me, to this material body, is not affecting my soul, which is eternal, my soul, which is part of Krishna, and my soul, which its eternal dharma is to be the servant of Krishna. So I think that is what I wanted to speak about for this verse. I hope I have made some sense and it has helped all the devotees. If there are any queries, questions, comments, corrections, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Hare
what
Krishna.
a wonderful class. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mataji,
so
you're
much.
always very kind. You're always very, very kind.
No, Mataji, it was really, really wonderful. How you connected, everything from first point to the light was really amazing. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
My question again, it comes to false ego, which you started with. So like now the false ego in our adulthood is like, okay, I am a female, I am Indian, I'm this, I'm that. But when the fall, like when you said, when the spirit soul is spirit soul, and the first thing that happens to the spirit soul is false ego. So at that time, what is the false ego identifying with? Because we haven't taken our body, we don't know Indian, because in our childhood we don't even know we are male or female. We are just so in the first, when the false ego, when the spirit soul is, false ego comes, that's the first thing that comes. So what are we identifying with that time?
Okay, this question about false ego creation is very, very vast, and there's so many ways to understand, but I'm just going to give you a very, very simple example, and hopefully it'll kind of help. When Bharat Maharaj was leaving his body, at that time he was thinking of the deer, right? Constantly thinking of the deer.
Yeah.
He started identifying, so he was taking on that identification of the deer. You see? And that is why, because he started taking on this identification, because he started creating this, or he didn't, but like I've said so many times, it's the Supreme Lord who gives you finally, eventually, based on your karma, based on your past activities, and the Supreme Lord's wish. But then Bharat Maharaj came in the body of the deer. So somewhere with all our karmas, with all our activities, we are creating our next birth, our next life. Krishna is already deciding our destiny, or our next life is based on what is happening in this current life, right? And then based on at the end of our life, what we have done in this previous life, we are going to get the next body. So in a sense, the false ego or our identification has been decided by ourselves, our karma, and then by the Supreme Lord who grants the wish to us. Why do we say that? Or why does Prabhupada in his purports explains that, there is this story that when he was walking by the beach and he saw the young boys surfing and swimming in the water, and he said they are enjoying this so much, in their next life they will become fish. You see,
Yes.
so what he's doing, or what these people are doing, is that they are creating an identity for their next life, and based on that identity they will be given that body. So they have created their false ego already, in a sense.
Oh, okay. So like
Yeah.
the desire, The
The
desire.
desire, the activities, our karma, our inherent desire, our attachments to things. Attachment to, like Prabhupada used to say, ki, that, okay, you like eating meat. Meat is eaten by animals. So in your next life, you will be a meat-eating animal. So that way you are creating your identification by your activities and overall by the supreme will of the Lord.
Okay,
Very
Mataji,
deep
thank you very
topic,
much.
Rupa Mataji, but I hope that this little bit kind of gives you food for thought to think about.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Thank you very much.
No
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
problem. I have a question on the chat by Santosh Mataji. I'll repeat the question. I've always thought that Krishna is seated and situated in our heart, and you mentioned it in our class too. But in chapter 9, verse 4, Krishna states, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. Could you please explain and clarify to me? That's a good question. You know, I mean, I don't know in what I will have to refer to that verse actually, but what Krishna is, right, but I'm not in that. Krishna is within us as the super soul. But what we need to understand when Krishna is talking like this is that although he is within us, we are being acted upon by the modes of material nature, by our desires, by so many things. The super soul, Krishna never gets affected by all these things. So he is in us in that sense, but he is not in us in a sense that our karmas, our activities, the modes acting upon us are acting upon us individually, not on the super soul also, because he is completely unaffected. He is transcendental to all these things. If I just read the purport over here, let me see if Prabhupada makes any other. Yeah.
He doesn't interfere with our free will.
Not
Yeah.
at all. Not at all. But the point that Santosh Mataji is talking about is I am not in them. So in the purport, Krishna, Prabhupada is explaining that one should not conclude that because he is spread all over, he has lost his personal existence. So he is everywhere and everything is in me, but I am still aloof. You see what it means? You know, this is about achintya bheda bheda. I am and I am not. I am here, but I am not. If this is our philosophy, what Krishna is trying to say is that I am there in this material world, but I am not influenced or acted upon by the material world or by any of the activities that any of the independent person is taking. And like Rupa Mataji said, I also do not interfere with the activities of the individual soul. I hope that makes some sort of sense, Santosh Mataji.
Yes,
Krishna
Mataji, thank you.
Mataji.
Thank you. But can I just finally clarify one more thing? So should we continuously say that Krishna is within us? Is it better not to say that?
No,
Because
it is
it's
very
confusing
important.
too.
No, it is very important to know that Krishna is within you. Remember the analogy of the two birds. The two birds are always together sitting on the same branch. One bird is busy eating the fruits, the other bird is just the observer. The other bird does not interfere at all. Nothing affects the other bird. You know, whether this bird is eating or doing whatever doesn't affect him. But he's still there constantly. The super soul is always with us, and we must always say that. The reason being, when we will start, you know, realizing and coming to the stage of understanding that Krishna is always with us, we will start seeking advice and answers from within, from the super soul also. And that will really, really help us, because sometimes, you know, they say that who is, you know, when we talk about consciousness, we say, not consciousness, my conscience is not allowing me to do this thing. That conscience is the super soul. What is the conscience? So the problem is that because we are so conditioned, sometimes we are not able to hear the super soul, but the super soul is always there. So it is very important to always bear in mind that the super soul is there, and always state this, that he is there, because otherwise we will then again lose touch with him. That connection that we are trying to form, that connection will become loose again. We don't want that. We don't want that.
I see. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji.
Thank you for a wonderful class.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji.
I am interested in if Krishna is planted in you, in your heart,
Mhm.
he's there and he's like an audience
Mhm.
watching your activities, good and bad, all the three modes you commit,
Mhm.
and how does that negate your responsibility to make good of your life in a way? Because it, you know you you got Krishna there, so why worry? That kind of thing. That's what I'm thinking.
So, Prabhupada is in one of his lectures, he uses this very nice thing. And we all, in our childhood, and even now, I'm sure we've all heard this, God helps only those who help themselves.
Yes, we know that statement. Oh, thank you.
And Prabhupada says that, just don't think. And I'll tell you one very, a story, and I'll tell you very quickly the story. There was once this farmer who was a devotee of the Lord, and there was floods happening. And he was in his little house, and he was sitting there waiting that, I'll be saved because I have faith in Krishna. I'm such a devotee. And somebody came to him while the waters were still a little bit low, and they said, come on, let's climb on this tree and whatever. No. Krishna is coming. Krishna is coming to help me, right? Okay. Flood waters are increasing and whatever else. And, somebody comes in a boat and he says, come on, get on this boat really quickly, others you'll drown. No, I have nothing to worry about. Krishna is coming. You see? And then when he starts to drown, he's asking this question, but Krishna, I am your devotee and you did not come to help me. And Krishna says, I sent this man who told you, come on, let's climb the tree. I sent the other man with the boat. All of them were me. They were all me, but you didn't come. What can I do? That's your free will. I cannot force you. You see? So the point is that we have to understand that yes, Krishna is with us at all times, but Krishna has also given us the free will. Otherwise, why are we here? Why are we here? Because we chose our free will. We chose our minute independence to enjoy independently of Krishna. Krishna does not, love cannot be forced. Otherwise, Krishna can make this entire world Krishna conscious in 1 second, not even a second. But that is not what he wants, because love should not be forced. We have to turn towards him independently. And Joli Mataji, we have to perform our own activities and take responsibility for it. We have to take help of Krishna. That Krishna, I want to do this and I'm not able to do it, but please help me. My desire is sincere. I'm not going to sit back and say, well, I have surrendered to Krishna and Krishna is going to, do whatever is right. Eventually, yes, he will do whatever is right for you. But that does not mean that we sit back. Like in the battle of Kurukshetra, when he showed his universal form to Arjuna, he said, all of these people are already dead. Does that mean that Arjuna, you just sit back and let's go back to the kingdom? No, you still have to fight, because I want you to be an instrument, my instrument. So,
and the story about the deer, and is it
Bharat Maharaj?
Bharat Maharaj, yes. He had been a good person, hasn't he?
Yes, it's very good person.
Isn't that harsh, really, that kind of punishment? I mean, we are all attached. I mean, in some way or the other, when you have a family and I mean, that was his family.
Joli Mataji, in fact, he left his entire family and kingdom and he went to the forest. So he was so unattached in that way and so attached to his devotional service. And then he got attracted to a deer. Now, one thing that I have said in the past also is, whenever there are personalities of the Bhagavatam, those stories and those personalities are there to teach us things. Because obviously then there is so many, pastimes of Bharat Maharaj, that he became Jad Bharat and, all of those things. Those stories are there to teach us things. We cannot take them lightly and we cannot think that, was he punished? Was he not punished? It was all there to teach us lessons. The point is that we must not neglect our devotional service at any point being attached to anything. And with Bharat Maharaj, eventually he started neglecting his devotional service, being attached to the deer. So it was not that being attached was the only issue. The issue was also that he was neglecting his devotional services. If that makes sense.
Hare Krishna. Yes, of course. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mataji.
you, Madhu Kumari.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Palika Mataji. Sorry,
Hare
Palika.
Krishna, Mataji.
1 second, Mataji.
Yeah.
Palika Mataji was saying
I
something.
just wanted to say, because you have so much, you are really more of goodness. The way you speak, it flows as if Krishna is just Krishna is giving you the the knowledge. It's so nice.
It is Krishna and Guru Maharaj, Palika Mataji, because if I can be honest, please don't mind my honesty, but today I was really struggling. I didn't know how to do this and how to put things together, and till the last minute I even told my Prabhuji, I said, I'm really stressed about today. So it is Krishna, Guru Maharaj, and all the mercy of all your devotees.
Definitely Krishna and Guru Maharaj's mercy, but it was flowing so nicely through them, and everything came out so nicely. We really have appreciated your speech. It's really, may Krishna bless you more.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, there was somebody else saying
Hare,
something.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. This is Mamta here. Sorry, I came a bit late. When I tend to listen at times. I was just trying to say about the thing of I'm here, but I'm not here, which Krishna says. As far as I understood, I might be wrong, is that when we do bad things, is not there in that. So because then everybody will take an excuse to say that, oh, they can do bad things, and they say Krishna is there, so what? That is also right,
Yeah.
So where that is what I understood. And I don't know, I was just listening to one of the, somebody was explaining, and because I was struggling to say I'm here but I'm not here. So when you do bad karma or the bad reactions, because he doesn't tell you to do those, so he's not there. But in all the goodness is there, and the desire to bad things, that is there, he's not there. I think I don't know whether.
No, there are many ways to look at this. Sorry, your name, Mataji?
Mamta Mataji. I have to change my name.
No, that's fine. There are many ways to look at these things, because, in an earlier class, which I had found very interesting, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, somebody has asked him that, does even like anger and all come from Krishna? According to material, anger is a bad quality, right? If you look at it materially. But if you look at it from a different vision, and if you don't, because we have got only this material vision, anger is not always a bad quality. And Prabhupada, in one of his Pandal lectures, one of the white body devotee had said to him that, I wish I would never get angry. And Prabhupada looked at him and he said, why do you think anger is bad? So the point is that what you're saying is right, Mamta Mataji, and Krishna is saying that in this context, when he's saying that I am there but I'm not there, is that see, here Prabhupada also goes on to explain that, when we talk about the king, like he's the head of the state, but he's sitting in his palace, and his employees or his authority is felt everywhere. So like that, the king is everywhere, but he's not everywhere. So there are many ways to
physical presence.
understand it. Many ways to understand it. And one of the way that you have explained is right, where, then people will say, when we do wrong things, we'll say, oh, but, Krishna within me has made me do the wrong things.
Yeah.
That is your karma. That is your past karma. So, yes. So thank you for sharing that. That's a very different aspect of looking at it. Sorry, I have one question from... So I have this question saying that I have the feeling of connection with Lord Krishna someday, and someday the connection is not. Why is this so? To be honest with you, Mataji, I think, let me speak for myself. I also feel like that so many times. Some days I'm on a high and I feel, oh, wow, I've done this. And, I've done my rounds in the morning and I feel so connected. And then some days I feel, because we have to remember that we are conditioned. We are still in the stages of getting cured. If we were completely cured, we would be in the stage of Paramhamsa. We are not at that stage. We are not pure devotees. We have our conditionings. We are still being treated, and that treatment may take time. But the whole point is that we are in the right place. We have reached the right hospital. So we will get the treatment, rest assured. Whether it happens in this lifetime or another lifetime, I pray that for all of you it happens in this lifetime, but we will get the treatment, we will get the cure. So don't worry about it. The one thing that our acharyas say is, no matter whether some days you feel like this or you don't feel like this, keep practicing. That is why it is called practice, sadhana bhakti. That is why it is called sadhana. Sadhana is practice. Just keep doing it.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was a question from me,
Yeah,
and I was listening to you,
yeah.
and I was feeling the same yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the name of the Mataji.
Gaurangi.
Yeah, and I was feeling the same. As I, it's gradually it's happening.
Yes.
Gradually, by the grace of Lord Krishna. Yes.
It will happen gradually, Mataji. You have to remember that, like we just discussed, the modes of material nature are constantly working on us. So we have the modes of material nature. We have got so many conditionings from our past. We have got so many samskaras, so many influences. It'll take time. But the point is that we have the sincere desire. We try our best. Some days we fail. When we fail, we, apologize. We go in front of our deities and we say, I'm so sorry. Please help me. Please help me. That is what is real shelter. That is what is surrender, isn't it? Humility, understanding that I have these problems. I am insignificant.
That's
I cannot
exactly.
do anything on my own.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
Yes. Surely that's that's exactly. Sometimes I do that.
Yeah.
It happens. Not all that. We are humans. End of the day.
Yes.
But it sort of. But there is like a feel of authority is there in the house. You have to be, do the puja. You have to do the offerings. And slowly I will get there.
Krishna said that I will give them what they lack. Krishna has promised us, so he will give us what we lack eventually.
Thank you. Surely. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Madhu Mataji.
Mataji, can I just share an experience I had? There was someone who had been in fame. I'm comparing this with fame and falling from fame. Mm-hmm. And how you get into a state, but it's not as severe as that, what we experience. Mm-hmm. But this person had 2 children, and she felt she was ugly after the children. Mm-hmm. And so she took it out on these 2 little children. Every day, you made me look at my body because of you. Look at me, I'm ugly and I'm not worthy. And all day long, night and day, she suffered this severe anxiety. Mm-hmm. So really, it's like coming down from fame. Some days we don't feel good. Some days we feel so high with Krishna, and we're enjoying what he puts in our path. Yeah. And then suddenly the next day, we're not enjoying because something else happened. Whatever it is, Krishna is testing us all the time, I feel. So I think that story always, it comes back to that for me, because I think, you will have these days, but really, you can't bet yourself all the time on the high. Yeah. And this fame that you have an audience looking at you, look at me, I'm this and I'm that. So I think that's a good story that sees me through these moments. We all experience it, all of us. Yeah.
All of us, yeah. And we can see, the thing is, I'll tell you what, if we all are always on this high, then we are going to become complacent and we are going to think, right, I have got it now. I have understood Krishna consciousness. Yes, yeah. I have reached this position now. Nothing can touch me. And that's when Maya will strike you. So Krishna is actually helping us. He does not want us to become complacent. So he wants us to have these ups and downs so that we realize, I'm not the controller. I can't do this. I can't do this on my own. I cannot do this unless I take shelter of Krishna, unless I beg for his mercy as like a beggar. So, and then Krishna is there to, help us. The thing is, whatever Krishna will do for us will be the right thing for us. That faith we must have, that whatever happens, it's good. It's good. It's all good because Krishna is the absolute. He is the all good. So everything is all good.
Hare Krishna, good realization. Thank you, Mataji.
It is 9:06. If there is no other burning question from somebody, maybe we could stop now. If there is any other questions or comments, then please do speak. If people want to leave, then they are welcome to, because I know it's getting late.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Mataji, thank you for wonderful class.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, lovely class. Thank you,
Thank you,
devotees.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Excellent
Hare
class.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Very
class.
nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mataji. It's a wonderful class. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna to everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai Mataji.
Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna, Jolly Mataji and everybody.
Hare
And
Krishna.
Madhu Kumari ji.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Krishnavani Mataji.
Wonderful class.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, as you said, we all are struggling, and I'm struggling too.
Oh, all of us are Mataji. Let's just take shelter.
Yeah, in the morning, I do take over by the